COMW podcast. Today's episode, Night Planning and Deep Work, a complete daily productivity system. Eisenhower, timeboxing, Focus 5.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Do you ever feel like your brain is just constantly running background software? Dealing with way too many tabs open in your life?
Yeah, like too much information coming at you, never enough time.
Exactly. And that really exhausting sense that you're just perpetually reacting to everything instead of being in control.
Totally. If that sounds familiar, you're definitely in the right place today.
Our mission really is to cut through all that noise.
Yeah.
We want to deliver a kind of blueprint for a sustainable daily productivity system.
Yeah, and we're not talking about those, quick fixes or temporary boosts that just fizzle out.
No, not at all. We're trying to build a foundational engine, something tailored specifically to you, the listener. And it's designed to give you results, measurable results, pretty fast.
We're talking less stress, right? More meaningful output.
And those really rare moments where you finish the day feeling genuinely accomplished, not just completely wiped out.
Right. So we've spent some time digging into research-backed strategies, really distilling them down into 5 core pillars. Think of them as like 5 levers you can pull, starting right now, to get back some control over your attention and, well, what you actually produce.
Okay, so what are these 5 pillars?
Well, first up, we're going to create the launchpad for success with night planning.
Okay, night planning. Got it.
Then pillar 2 is that crucial decision filter, the Eisenhower Priorities Matrix. Ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah, the urgent, important thing. Definitely.
Okay. Then we get into the engine room of focus. Pillar 3, which is timeboxing and deep work.
Ah, deep work.
Crucial. Absolutely. Pillar 4 is, I think, quite an elegant psychological hack, really, to beat procrastination. It's called the Focus 5 method.
Focus 5.
Intriguing.
And then wrapping it all up, pillar 5 shows us the long game. How to use habit loops combined with 1% daily gains to make sure success compounds. So it's not just a 1-week burst of energy. This is exciting because, as you said, these aren't brand new ideas out of nowhere. They're sort of refinements of some really brilliant concepts that have been around.
Right. Building on what works.
Yeah, like when we talk about clearing your head, getting tasks out of your mind, we're kind of nodding to people like David Allen. He really showed us the power of externalizing things.
Getting it down on paper, yeah.
And when we talk about facing the truth, maybe the painful truth, about how we actually spend our time, well, we're channeling the kind of raw honesty of researchers like Steve Pavlina.
That time log stuff can be brutal, can it?
Oh, totally. So we've basically taken decades of insight and built, hopefully, a modern operating system for today's, hyper-connected, notification-crazy world.
Okay, so before we jump into solutions, let's just agree on what we're actually trying to fix here, because productivity, it gets misunderstood all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, people think it just means doing more stuff, cramming more in.
Exactly. And that's the quantitative trap, right? It leads straight to burnout. True productivity, the sustainable kind, is more strategic. It's really about maximizing your high-value results with the resources you actually have.
So integrating things like efficiency, but also well-being.
Yeah.
And purpose.
Precisely. It's working smarter, not just grinding out longer hours. It's about aligning what you do with what actually matters to you, your deeper values.
And when you start living like that, the benefits aren't just like work-related, are they?
Not at all. It goes way beyond that. We're talking reduced anxiety, that constant background hum of stress, a genuine feeling of control over your day, your life.
And maybe reclaiming time for things that actually enrich your life, like relationships or hobbies you've let slide.
Exactly. That's the real payoff.
But let's be brutally honest, as you said. For most people listening, that feeling of control might feel like a pretty distant memory right now.
That's the reality we need to acknowledge.
Yeah, and the alarm bells are ringing really loud. I saw this stat. 71% of knowledge workers report suffering from psychological burnout. 71%.
Wow. That's staggering. 7 out of 10 people you work with feeling psychologically fried.
Right. Running on empty. And the research points to 2 main culprits, doesn't it? Poor time management and just the sheer overwhelming volume of information we're trying to process constantly.
Information overload is real.
Totally. So we need to diagnose what's going on. There are internal factors we can influence, right? Like our motivation, our health, our skills.
Our self-knowledge, yeah.
But then there's this external onslaught, distractions, the work environment, technology practically screaming for our attention, the endless task list.
It's a battle on 2 fronts. A sustainable system has to deal with both the internal, your energy, and the external, the chaos.
So the first step isn't a new app.
Definitely not. You absolutely cannot fix what you don't understand. And this is where, honestly, most people fall down. They skip the diagnosis.
They jump straight to a solution.
Yeah, based on just feelings. Oh, I feel busy or I feel distracted. But feelings aren't data. We need concrete data. And that means doing the time log technique.
The time log. Okay.
And I'll be honest, this is often the hardest part because it requires just radical, brutal honesty with yourself.
So what does it involve exactly?
It means meticulously documenting how you actually spend every hour of your day for at least a full week. You're not guessing, you're collecting data on your reality, not what you think your reality is.
And the results can be surprising.
Oh, often shocking. Shocking enough to actually force lasting change. You mentioned Steve Pavlina earlier. He's a great example, a successful guy, writer, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
When he first did a serious time log, he found he was only truly working effectively, like focused work, for about 25% of the hours he was technically at his desk.
25%? Wow.
Yeah.
He thought he was working 8 hours, but only got 2 hours of real work done.
Something like that, yeah. And that kind of revelation is humbling but incredibly useful.
So the goal isn't self-flagellation?
Not at all. The goal is to become like a detective investigating your own time. You're ruthlessly looking for the time thieves.
Time thieves? Like what?
Those sneaky patterns that just eat up hours without giving you much back. Maybe it's excessive social media scrolling. Maybe it's checking notifications every 10 minutes just in case. Maybe it's those meetings that drone on and could have been an email.
We've all been in those meetings.
Haven't we just? But the data you get from this log, it's absolute gold. It reveals two critical things. First, the real reasons your output might be lower than you want.
Okay.
And second,
it reveals your natural energy patterns. When are you sharpest? When do you typically hit a slump? This self-knowledge is the absolute bedrock of building a system that works for you.
because trying to force difficult work during an energy low is just setting yourself up to fail, right?
Exactly. You diagnose your unique patterns, your preferences, even your physiological limits. Then you can build strategies that actually stick because they're customized to your reality, not some generic template. Okay, so we've got our data. We're armed with some self-knowledge. Let's move to pillar 1. You mentioned night planning. And it tackles that morning paralysis, right?
Precisely. Think about it. We know decision-making drains mental energy. It's a finite resource. So why on earth would we waste that precious morning energy deciding what to do first?
Yeah, that classic scenario. Wake up, coffee, sit down, and then just stare at the screen or the list for 15 minutes trying to figure out where to even start.
That moment of hesitation, that's your prime cognitive fuel just leaking away before you've even tackled anything important.
So night planning prevents that leak.
That's the idea. Pillar 1, night planning, is the ultimate strategy for protecting that high-energy window you hopefully have in the morning, and it's deceptively simple, but really powerful.
Oh, simple.
Dedicate exactly 5 minutes, no more, the night before to prepare for the next day. It's not about detailed scheduling. Think of it more like a launch sequence for tomorrow.
5 minutes. Okay, I like the sound of that.
You're basically leveraging that natural transition time, the shift from work mode to evening mode, for a bit of reflection and prep.
So you decide on priorities when your energy might be lower anyway, saving the morning brain power for doing.
Exactly. You eliminate that taxing cognitive load of deciding what to do, so when you sit down in the morning, your prefrontal cortex can just focus purely on execution.
Okay, break down that 5-minute structure for us.
Yeah.
Because discipline sounds key here. 5 minutes means 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Set a timer. Step 1, maybe take 1 or 2 minutes, the quick review. Just briefly reflect on the day you've just finished. What went well? Any major accomplishments? What challenges popped up? Any quick lessons learned? No deep analysis, just observe.
Okay, quick review then.
Step 2, the core of it, maybe 2 minutes. Define tomorrow's top 3. Identify the only three high-leverage activities that absolutely must get done tomorrow. These are your big rocks.
Big rocks. Got it.
And crucially, define them clearly. Don't just write, work on report. Write, complete section 2 of the Q4 report. Specificity is key. It reduces friction when you start.
Makes sense. And the last minute.
The final minute, mental preparation. Close your eyes for a second. Visualize yourself successfully completing that very first task, smoothly, easily, the moment you sit down. Then, quickly anticipate maybe the biggest potential obstacle could be an interruption, an unexpected meeting, and just briefly sketch out a plan B for it.
So you're priming your brain to start strong and handle bumps.
Exactly. You're aligning your subconscious before the day even begins, moving from reactive to proactive.
And does this actually work? Is there evidence?
Oh yeah, the impact is pretty significant. There are reports from organizations where executives adopted this simple night planning routine. They saw, on average, a 23% increase in their morning productivity.
23%. That's substantial.
It is. And maybe even more telling, they reported a 40% reduction in the time it took them to get into the rhythm of work in the morning. They basically cut the warm-up time almost in half.
Wow. That reduction in friction, that getting into the rhythm faster, that sounds like the real win.
It absolutely is. Imagine it. You wake up, get your coffee, and instead of facing this confusing cloud of tasks, you see those 3 clear priorities staring back at you. The decision's already made.
You just sit down and
Yeah.
jump straight into your most important work. That tiny 5-minute investment the night before builds this powerful barrier against morning paralysis. It ensures your best mental energy goes towards your biggest goals, not just idling while you figure things out.
Okay, so night planning nails down those top 3 priorities. But now we need a system for the when, and maybe just as important, the when not, right? Which brings us to pillar 2, the famous Eisenhower Matrix.
Yeah, the Eisenhower Matrix. It's really indispensable because it forces clarity. Our brains, they naturally get pulled towards urgency because it feels loud and demanding.
Right, the squeaky wheel. Exactly. But this matrix forces you to stop and distinguish between what's genuinely urgent and what's truly important. Just because something's yelling doesn't mean it actually matters for your long-term goals.
Okay, so walk us through the 4 quadrants again, maybe with some everyday examples.
Sure. Quadrant 1 is urgent and important. These are the real crises, the actual looming deadlines, the problems that stop everything if you don't deal with them now. The instruction here is simple: do immediately. But ideally, you want to minimize how much time you spend reacting in this quadrant.
Okay, do immediately. What's next?
Quadrant 2. This is the strategic powerhouse. Important, but not urgent. This is where real success gets built. Think planning, skill development, relationship building, exercise, even preventative maintenance on your car or your health.
The stuff that doesn't scream at you but makes all the difference long term.
Precisely. The action here is schedule and prioritize. This is the quadrant of proactive growth. And sadly, it's often the first thing that gets sacrificed when things get busy.
That makes sense. We react to the urgent first.
But here's the key insight. The more time you proactively invest in quadrant 2, like planning or prevention, the fewer crises actually end up landing in quadrant 1 later on.
So Q2 work actually shrinks Q1 problems over time.
Exactly. It's the strategic investment that pays off by reducing future fires.
Okay, so what about the other 2 quadrants? The less productive ones?
Right. Quadrant 3 is urgent, but not important. These are often interruptions, that phone call, that colleague stopping by for a minute, some emails, maybe status meetings that could have been updates. They feel urgent, often to someone else, but they don't actually move your core goals forward.
So what do you do with those?
The instruction is delegate if you possibly can, or automate. If you can't delegate, then you batch these kinds of tasks into specific, limited time slots. Don't let them interrupt your important work.
Okay, delegate or batch. And the last one, quadrant 4.
Quadrant 4 is the black hole, not urgent and not important. This is the pure time waster zone. Excessive web browsing on non-work stuff, mindless social media scrolling, those meetings where absolutely nothing gets decided.
We know this quadrant well.
Unfortunately, yes. The objective here needs to be ruthless. Eliminate. If your time log showed you spend 45 minutes every afternoon looking at cat videos, well, that's Q4, and it needs to go if you want that time back for something important.
Right. Eliminate. Okay, so Eisenhower helps us prioritize. Now, how do we actually execute on those priorities, especially the Q2 stuff? That brings us to pillar 3.
Exactly. Pillar 3 is time boxing and deep work. Time boxing is fundamentally about respecting your focus. It means you allocate a specific fixed amount of time for one specific task and only that task.
So it stops tasks from just expanding to fill whatever time you have, like Parkinson's law.
Precisely. And it's a powerful weapon against multitasking, which we know is incredibly inefficient.
And the deep work part.
When we're talking about that high value, important work, especially from quadrant 2, that requires deep work, intense, uninterrupted concentration. We often talk about the Regler das 2 horas, or the 2-hour rule.
The 2-hour rule.
Yeah, it suggests dedicating focus blocks of roughly 90 to 120 minutes for your most complex, brain-heavy tasks. We see this duration pop up in various productivity studies across different cultures, hence mentioning the original phrase, it's a cross-cultural insight, really. It seems to align pretty well with our natural human ultradian rhythms.
Our focus cycles.
Exactly. These cycles of focus tend to last about 90 to 120 minutes before our brain naturally needs a short break to reset.
And crucially, you mentioned aligning these blocks with our peak energy times from the time log.
Absolutely essential. For most people, that means scheduling your most demanding deep work sessions, say between 9 and 11 a.m., when your brain is typically freshest. Don't try to force it during your afternoon slump.
And protecting these blocks is key, right? Because of interruption.
Protecting them like a bank vault. Because of something called attention residue, it's like a cognitive tax you pay every time you switch tasks.
Attention residue. Explain that.
Even if you just glance at a notification and then immediately turn back to your main task, part of your attention stays kind of stuck on that interruption for a while. It takes mental energy to fully pull your focus back.
How long does that take?
Research suggests it can take up to 23 minutes to fully regain deep focus after a significant interruption. 23 minutes.
Wow. So if you're checking email every 5 or 10 minutes.
You're paying that 23-minute refocusing tax over and over and over again. You might never actually reach deep focus at all.
Okay, that's scary. So what's the counter strategy?
The counter strategy is batching. You group similar, usually shallower tasks together to minimize that switching cost.
Like doing all your emails at once.
Exactly. Instead of handling 5 separate email checks scattered throughout your morning deep work block, you collect them all and process them sequentially during a scheduled time outside your focus block. You batch emails, you batch administrative tasks, you batch returning calls.
So you only switch context once for that type of task, pay the attention tax once, and then get back to deep work.
That's the goal. Minimize the switches, minimize the tax.
And there's data supporting this need for batching, right? You mentioned email stats earlier.
Oh, the data is screaming at us. That study finding 80% of knowledge workers keep their email open constantly. That's not just a minor inefficiency. Those constant interruptions, maybe every 6 minutes on average, they lead directly to something like a 40% reduction in cognitive efficiency.
40%. So you're basically operating at 60% capacity just because you're letting notifications fragment your focus.
Pretty much. It's a massive self-inflicted wound to productivity.
Okay, so let's paint a picture of that sample day. How would it look?
All right. Your 9 a.m. to maybe 11 a.m. block, that sacred deep work time, focused entirely on one of your night planning priorities. Notifications off, maybe door closed or headphones on as a signal. You are unavailable.
Totally focused.
Totally focused. Then, maybe after a break or a lunch, you have a designated available window, say from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. That's when you process the batch of emails, check Slack messages, return non-urgent calls.
So communication becomes a scheduled task, not a constant state of being.
Exactly. You work with the reality of your attention span. You protect your peaked energy times for deep thinking, and you treat communication and shallower tasks as things to be batched efficiently during lower energy periods. All right, we've structured our time, we're protecting our focus, but now we have to confront that great psychological monster, procrastination.
Ah, yes, the bane of many people's existence. We try planning more, being more disciplined.
And it often fails, right? Because we
Right.
tend to misunderstand why we procrastinate. There's some great work by psychologist Tim Peichel on this. He points out that procrastination isn't really a time management problem at its core.
No. What is it then?
It's fundamentally an emotional regulation problem.
Emotional regulation. How so?
We tend to avoid a task not necessarily because it's objectively difficult, but because starting the task makes us feel bad in some way. Maybe it triggers anxiety or boredom or feelings of inadequacy or just overwhelm.
Okay, so we're avoiding the negative feeling, not the task itself.
Exactly. And to regulate that negative emotion right now, we instinctively flee to something easier, something that gives us a quick, momentary hit of relief or distraction. Checking social media, tidying the desk, making another coffee.
Be anything but starting that task.
Right. So the goal shouldn't be just to force yourself to do the task, but to fix how you feel about starting it. We need to lower that initial emotional barrier.
Okay, so if the big pain point is just starting, overcoming that inertia, that resistance, what's the hack? This must be pillar 4.
This is pillar 4, the beautifully simple, almost deceptively easy Focus 5 method.
Focus 5. Tell me more.
It's basically a non-threatening invitation to your resistant brain. You commit to working on that intimidating task for just 5 minutes. That's it.
Just 5 minutes.
Just 5. Set a timer. You tell yourself, okay, brain, I only have to endure this feeling or this task for 300 seconds. You completely remove the psychological weight of having to finish the whole thing or even make significant progress. You're only promising to start.
You're lowering the stakes dramatically.
Exactly. And this is where the magic of momentum kicks in. Physics tells us it takes energy to overcome inertia, right? To get something moving from a standstill.
Sure.
But once it is moving, the energy needed to keep it moving is much, much lower. It's the same psychologically. Once you're actually immersed in the task, even for just 5 minutes, those initial negative feelings, the anxiety, the boredom, often start to dissipate.
And they get replaced by?
Maybe by focus.
No.
Maybe even by the satisfaction of actually doing the thing you were avoiding. We saw this illustrated really well in a case study. Priya, a freelance graphic designer, she really struggled with chronic procrastination, especially on big client proposals.
I can imagine those feel daunting.
Totally. So she started implementing the Focus 5 rule. Just 5 minutes on the proposal. That was the deal she made with herself.
And what happened?
What she found was that about 80% of the time, once the 5-minute timer went off, she just kept going. She was already in it, the initial barrier was down, and she often worked for much longer.
Wow, 80% of the time.
Yeah. That small, non-threatening commitment created this momentum she didn't realize she could tap into. Her overall productivity on those high-value proposals jumped something like 30% within just a few months. And maybe just as importantly, her anxiety about starting those big projects went way down.
It's almost funny, isn't it? We build these tasks up into huge monsters in our heads.
Totally.
And spend so much energy stressing about doing them, when the real trick is just to find a way to painlessly get through the first 5 minutes.
It really is like tricking your own brain.
Yeah.
You gently coax it into just walking through the door, promising it can leave right away. But once it's inside, it often looks around and thinks, this isn't so bad. Might as well stay a while.
So that 5-minute psychological boundary hack unlocks the potential for hours of focused work.
It absolutely can. It's a powerful key for overcoming that initial emotional resistance that fuels so much procrastination.
Okay, we've got the planning, the prioritizing, the focused execution, and the hack for starting. But now the big question. How do we make all this stick? How do we turn these good intentions into actual sustainable behaviors without just burning through willpower, which we know is finite?
Exactly. Willpower is not a strategy for the long haul. That brings us to Pillar 5. Building sustainable success through understanding habit loops and the power of compounding success.
Habit loops, that's the cue, routine, reward thing, right?
That's the one. Our brain are incredible efficiency machines. They love automating repeated behaviors because it saves precious mental energy. And they do this using that simple loop. A cue triggers a routine, which leads to a reward.
So to make a new productivity behavior like night planning into a habit, we need to define that loop clearly.
Precisely. Let's use night planning as the example. The cue might be something really specific, like the moment I close my work laptop for the day. That's the trigger.
Okay.
The routine is the behavior itself. Do the 5-minute planning session using the 3 steps.
Right, and the reward.
The reward needs to be tangible or emotionally satisfying. It isn't just the abstract satisfaction of having planned, it's the actual felt benefit the next morning, like waking up feeling calm and knowing exactly what my top priority is. That positive feeling reinforces the loop and makes your brain want to repeat the routine next time the cue appears.
That makes sense. You need that payoff to make it stick.
Absolutely. But building habits isn't about massive heroic efforts. Discipline isn't intensity, it's consistency. And this leads to that really profound concept of 1% better.
The compounding effect.
Exactly. The math here is genuinely startling. If you aim to improve just 1% each day, that's a tiny, often almost unnoticeable gain work. The improvement compounds exponentially over time.
What does that look like over a year?
If you get 1% better each day for a year, you end up being roughly 37 times better than when you started. 37 times.
Wow. That really highlights that consistency beats intensity over the long run. You don't need these huge bursts of effort. You just need small, disciplined, daily improvements.
That's the core message. Minimal, consistent effort wins.
But there's a catch, isn't there? Sticking with new habits is hard.
It is. Research consistently shows that something like 90% of people fail to maintain new habits long-term if they don't have the right systems and accountability in place.
Willpower just runs out eventually.
It always does. Systems endure. That's why something as simple as a visual tracker could be a checklist on paper, a simple spreadsheet, a habit tracking app can be so powerful.
Why does the visual tracker help so much?
Because it provides that immediate visual feedback, that little dopamine hit of checking something off. It reinforces the reward part of the loop and makes the progress tangible, which our brains really crave. It keeps the consistency going when motivation naturally dips.
Okay, so habits and systems are key for sustainability.
hmm
But underlying all of this, there's something even more fundamental, isn't there?
Absolutely. We need to shift the conversation fundamentally from just time management to energy management.
Yeah.
You can schedule the most perfect protected time box in the world, but if you show up to it completely drained and exhausted...
The output is going to be garbage anyway.
Exactly. Your physical and mental energy is the absolute foundation upon which all sustainable productivity is built. If that foundation crumbles, the whole system collapses.
So what are the key levers for energy management? What does the research tell us?
Well, the sources consistently highlight a few critical areas. First and foremost, and we really can't stress this enough, sleep.
The non-negotiable.
Absolutely non-negotiable. 7 to 9 hours of quality restorative sleep per night. Sleep isn't just passive downtime, it's when your brain does critical maintenance work. It's essential for consolidating memories, for learning, for regulating emotions, for problem solving, for making good decisions.
Basically essential for being a functional human being, let alone a productive one.
Pretty much. Professionals who consistently prioritize sleep demonstrate markedly better cognitive skills and higher resilience to stress. You simply cannot perform at your peak if you're chronically sleep deprived.
Okay, sleep first. What else?
Second, understanding and respecting your circadian rhythms. We touched on this with deep work. You need to align your most demanding tasks with your natural energy peaks.
Which we identified with the time log earlier.
Right. If your log shows you're sharpest from, say, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and maybe again from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., those are your prime times for deep, focused work. Protect them fiercely.
And the post-lunch dip, that 1 p.m. slump.
That's when you schedule the lower energy, more administrative tasks. Batch your emails then, sort files, do routine stuff that doesn't require your peak brain power. Don't waste your cognitive prime on mindless work. Work with your body's natural rhythm, not against it.
Makes sense. Sleep, circadian rhythms, anything else?
Yes, the crucial role of pauses as strategic breaks. Your brain, even though it's only about 2% of your body weight, is an energy hog. It consumes about 20% of your total energy.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that high.
It is. And it needs regular refueling. Short, mindful breaks, even just 5 minutes completely away from your screen, maybe stretching or looking out the window, are not lazy. They are essential. They prevent mental fatigue, they help replenish cognitive resources, and they ultimately optimize your performance over the whole day.
So breaks actually help you maintain quality output longer, instead of just burning out in one intense sprint.
Exactly. It's about sustainable performance, not just short bursts followed by crashes. Energy management through sleep, rhythm alignment, and strategic breaks is the bedrock.
Okay, we've built this fantastic internal system, planning, prioritizing, focusing, starting, sustaining. But now, the moment of truth. What happens when this beautifully crafted system meets the messy reality of the external world?
Yeah.
You know, your boss, your clients, your team, all making demands.
Ah, yes, the collusion with reality. This is where so many well-intentioned productivity systems completely fall apart, because often the individual hasn't learned the crucial skill of saying no.
Saying no is hard.
It really is. And often that difficulty is tied to a deeper, sometimes subconscious belief that our personal value is somehow linked to being constantly available, constantly agreeable, constantly saying yes.
The yes person trap leads straight to overcommitment and burnout.
Absolutely. We have to fundamentally shift that mindset. Warren Buffett has a great insight on this. He says that really successful people distinguish themselves not just by the great opportunities they pursue, but perhaps even more so by the good opportunities they decline.
So you have to say no to good things to protect your time and energy for the truly great things, the quadrant 2 stuff.
Exactly. You must be willing and able to politely but firmly decline requests that, while perhaps interesting or flattering, don't actually align with your core priorities, those top 3 you identified in your night planning.
Okay, but saying no, especially under pressure or to someone senior, is really tough in the moment. Do you have any, practical scripts people can use?
Yes, having pre-prepared scripts is crucial because it takes the emotional calculation out of it when you're put on the spot. Let's take a request from a peer or maybe a junior colleague that doesn't fit your priorities.
Okay, what could you say?
You could try something like, "That sounds like a really interesting project. Thanks for thinking of me. Based on my current commitments to hit the Q4 deliverables this week," mention your priority, I unfortunately don't have the bandwidth to take on something new right now. However, what I could offer is maybe reviewing your plan for an hour on Friday afternoon. Or perhaps I could connect you with Jane in marketing, who might have more capacity in that area right now.
Okay, I see the formula there. Acknowledge, validate, decline firmly but politely. Give the reason tied to your priorities, and then offer a specific, limited alternative if appropriate.
Exactly. You're being helpful, but protecting your core focus. Now, if the request comes from senior management, the dynamic is different. You need a script that shows respect, but still highlights the resource constraint.
Right, you probably can't just say no directly.
Probably not. So you might try something like this. Okay, I understand this is important. I can definitely shift focus to take that on. Given that my current top 3 priorities for today are briefly list your night planning items 1, 2, and 3, could you help me understand which of those I should deprioritize for the rest of the day week to make adequate space for this new task?
Ah, very clever. You're not saying no, you're framing it as a trade-off. You're asking them to make the priority call, which highlights that your time is finite and already allocated.
Precisely. It makes the cost of the new request visible and forces a conscious decision about priorities rather than just adding more to your plate.
Okay, so scripts for direct requests are vital. What about the constant barrage of digital communication, notifications, emails, Slack? How do we set boundaries there?
This is huge in today's world. You absolutely must establish and defend your deep work blocks. We talked about these 90, 120-minute sessions. During these times, notifications need to be off. All of them. Phone silenced, email closed, Slack snoozed. You need to be genuinely inaccessible for that period, except maybe for a true, pre-agreed emergency channel if your role requires it.
Making yourself unavailable feels countercultural sometimes.
It is, but it's necessary for high-value work, and you need to proactively manage expectations around this. This means establishing clear, available windows with your team.
How do you communicate that?
Be explicit. Say something like, "Team, to make sure I can give our key projects the focus they deserve, I'm implementing deep work blocks from 9:11 a.m. daily. I'll also be batching my communication processing. You can expect responses to non-urgent emails and Slack messages during my dedicated windows at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. each day."
So you're setting the expectation that replies won't be instantaneous outside those windows.
Exactly. You're training people that you're responsive, but within a structure that protects your focus time. It allows your batching strategy to actually work.
And what about which tool to use for what? Does that matter?
Critically important. Agree on communication protocols with your team. Stop the madness of using every single channel for every type of message. It creates enormous cognitive load.
So define the purpose of each channel.
Yes. Maybe agree. Slack is only for quick, asynchronous, non-urgent questions that don't need a permanent record. Email is for more formal, documented communication or things that need to be searchable later. Phone calls or quick huddles are reserved for genuinely urgent issues or complex discussions that are inefficient via text.
Having that clarity on protocols would reduce so much noise and platform checking.
Significantly. It cuts down the mental overhead of constantly monitoring 5 different streams of information and wondering what's important. Clear boundaries and protocols are the external shield that protects your internal productivity system. #outro.
Wow, okay. We have covered a ton of ground today.
Yep.
But hopefully everyone listening now has a much clearer picture, a real blueprint for building a productivity system that's actually sustainable. Let's just quickly recap those 5 big pillars we discussed.
Good idea.
Pillar 1 was night planning, that 5-minute routine to kill morning paralysis and lock in your top 3 priorities.
Right. Then pillar 2, the Eisenhower Matrix, giving you that essential filter to distinguish urgent from truly important.
Pillar 3 was the execution engine, timeboxing and deep work, using those 90, 120-minute blocks and religiously protecting your focus with batching to fight attention residue.
Then pillar 4, the clever anti-procrastination hack. Focus 5, using that tiny commitment to generate powerful momentum.
And finally, pillar 5, making it all stick, using habit loops and the incredible compounding power of 1% daily gains, all built on that crucial foundation of energy management, sleep, rhythms, and breaks.
That's the framework. But remember, productivity isn't a destination you arrive at. It's really a continuous journey, isn't it? A process of self-discovery, small experiments, and ongoing adjustments.
Absolutely. You've heard a lot of strategies today, maybe dozens of little tactics woven in. The key now is not to get overwhelmed and try to implement everything at once. That's implementation paralysis.
Right. So the challenge we want to leave you with is this. Choose just one technique from today. Maybe it's the super simple 5-minute night plan. Or maybe it's trying the Focus 5 method on that task you've been avoiding. Just pick one.
And commit to trying it consistently starting tonight or tomorrow.
Exactly. Give it a real try for a week. See how it feels, see what happens. And we'd love it if you'd let us know. Maybe subscribe if you haven't, rate the show, and perhaps share the one technique you tried in your first win, however small, in the comments or wherever you engage with us.
Yeah, that feedback loop is powerful, not just for us, but for reinforcing your own new habits and maybe inspiring someone else. Okay, the standard quick note before we wrap up. Please remember that all the knowledge and ideas we've shared here today are purely for educational and informational purposes.
Yep.
They are absolutely not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, or legal advice from a qualified expert.
Very important.
All right. So, as a final thought to maybe chew on, what if you shifted your focus? Instead of constantly trying to figure out how to cram more tasks into your already packed day, what if you started prioritizing, really prioritizing, the quality of your sleep?
And deliberately aligning your most important work with your natural energy peaks.
Yeah. If you focused on those two things, sleep quality and energy alignment, instead of just task volume, how much better, how much more impactful could your absolute best work actually become?
That's a powerful question to ponder. Maybe something to consider during tonight's night planning session.
Perhaps. Okay, that's the question to take with you. Thank you so much for diving deep with us today. We really appreciate you listening.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this podcast helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Do you have any questions or want to suggest a topic? Just let us know in the comments. See you in the next episode. See you later.